We have been told that aging is natural, that it is simply what happens, that the human body is built to grow old gracefully, to slow down, to wear out gently over decades. But that is wrong. Aging is not a feature of the human body, it is a manufacturing compromise. Evolution does not care whether you live to 80. Evolution cares whether you live long enough to pass on your genes. Once that is done, from the perspective of natural selection, your survival is irrelevant. The reason your body begins breaking down in your 40s and 50s is not because it was built to break down gradually, it is because it was never built to last that long at all. You are not aging, you are exceeding your warranty. In 1900, the average human life expectancy was 47 years, not because people were fragile, not because medicine was primitive in ways that made ordinary survival impossible, largely because infant and child mortality was catastrophically high, and those early deaths pulled the average down dramatically. If you survived the childhood in 1900, you had a reasonable chance of reaching your 60s. But here is what that means. The human body, for the overwhelming majority of its evolutionary history, was almost never required to function past 60. And for most of that history, past 45, evolution works on what survives long enough to reproduce. It has no mechanism for selecting traits that benefit organism after reproduction is complete. Whatever happens to your body at 70, 80, 90, evolution had no opinion about it. No selection pressure shaped those years. No biological plan was written for them. They are uncharted territory, and you are living in them. Biologist Peter Medawar described this in 1952 with a concept he called the mutation accumulation theory of aging. His insight was simple and devastating. Natural selection cannot see mutations that only express themselves late in life after reproduction. A genetic variant that causes catastrophic cellular breakdown at age 70 has essentially no negative effect on the evolutionary fitness. By 70, in the environment where human genetics were shaped, you had almost certainly already reproduced. The mutation never got selected against. It accumulated in the population, harmlessly invisible to evolution, because evolution had already stopped paying attention. What this means is that the human genome contains a large number of genetic time bombs, mutations that cause no harm during reproductive years and devastating harm afterward, that have never been cleaned out by natural selection because natural selection never had a reason to find them. Your body is not falling apart because aging is natural, it is falling apart because evolution never bothered to fix the parts that break after 40. This becomes more specific when you look at individual system. The cardiovascular system, arterial walls begin stiffening in your 30s, plaque accumulates, the heart muscles thicken slightly over decades. None of this would have mattered in the evolutionary environment where human cardiovascular genetics were selected, because in that environment you are almost certainly dead from something else before cardiovascular decline become lethal. The immune system, your thymus, the organ responsible for producing T cells, your primary adaptive immune defense, began shrinking at puberty and continues shrinking for the rest of your life. By the time you are 65, it is largely non functional. And this is not a disease, this is the immune system running its design program, which was protect the organism through reproduction and early child rearing, then begin winding down the cellular repair system. Every cell in your body contains a structure called a telomere, a protective cap on the end of each chromosome that shortens every time the cell divides. When the telomere runs out, the cell stops dividing. This is called cellular senescence. It is not a malfunction, it is a timer, a biological clock that was set for a specific duration, and that duration was not 90 years. The skeleton bone density peaks in your late 20s and begins declining immediately after, not from disease, not from calcium deficiency in most cases, from a cellular process in which bone destroying cells begin outspacing bone building cells, a process that begins well before middle age and was never evolutionarily selected against because most human ancestors were dead before it became a serious problem. Every major system in your body had a similar story, not designed to fail, designed for a shorter window than the one you are living in. There is a concept in evolutionary biology called antagonistic pleiotropy. It was proposed by the biologist George Williams in 1957, and it is one of the most clarifying ideas in the entire field. The theory states that some genetic variants are actively beneficial early in life, promoting growth, immune response, cellular reproduction, and actively harmful late in life in ways that were invisible to natural selection because organisms rarely survived to experience them. The clearest example is a gene called P53. P53 is one of the most important tumor suppressor genes in the human body. It monitors cells for damage and either repairs them or triggers their self-destruction before they become cancerous. High activity of P53 early in life dramatically reduces cancer risk during reproductive years, which is why natural selection strongly favored it. But high P53 actively late in life accelerates cellular senescence. The same mechanism that protected you at 25 begins destroying tissue at 65. The gene that kept you alive during your reproductive years become a source of decline in the years evolution never prepared for. And this is not a bad engineering, it is a design specification that ends at a certain page. Your body was written for a specific chapter. You have turned past the last line. The implications of these are not abstract. Almost everything that goes wrong with the human body after 50 can be traced to one of the three mechanisms: mutations that accumulated late in life because evolution never selected against them, systems that were designed to wind down after reproduction, or genetic variants that were actively beneficial early and actively harmful late. This means that the vast majority of age-related disease is not disease in the traditional sense. It is the body doing exactly what it was designed to do, in a time frame it was never designed to inhabit. The cardiovascular decline, the immune collapse, the cellular senescence, the skeleton deterioration, the neurological changes of aging. These are not malfunctions, they are the correct operation of a system running past its intended window. Here is what that changes. For most of human history, the response to aging was acceptance. The body slowed down. That is what bodies do. But if aging is not a natural feature, if it is a manufacturing compromise, a collection of accumulated mutation and early expiring design specification, then it is, in principle, a solvable problem. Not solved, not even close to be solved, but solvable in a way that the word natural made it seem impossible. This is the insight that has reorganized modern neuroscience, the science of aging itself, rather than the diseases of aging. Researchers like David Sinclair at Harvard have proposed that aging is not a collection of independent diseases, but a single upstream process, a loss of epigenetic information, a degradation of the cellular instruction set that causes most of the downstream condition we call age-related disease. If that is true, the question is not how to treat cardiovascular disease and cancer and neurological decline separately. The question is how to slow or reverse the information loss that causes all of them. That research is active, the results are early, but the framework shift is real. You are living in a body that was built for a world that no longer exists, built for a lifespan shorter than the one you are currently living, built for an environment with different stressors, different nutrition, different sleep patterns, different movement demands. The gap between your body was designed for and what you're asking it to do is not a reason for despair, it is a reason for precision. Every choice about sleep, about movement, about nutrition, about stress, these are not lifestyle preferences. They are intervention in a biological system that was not written with your current lifespan in mind, running in condition it was never tested for. You cannot change your evolutionary history. You cannot rewrite the genetic time bombs or reverse the design specification that earned too early. But you can understand the machine you are running and understand a machine, really understanding it, not the mythology about it. It's always the first step toward running it better. Your body was not built to last this long, but here you are, and what you do with that is entirely up to you.